Good morning, and welcome to this edition of Contractors Chatter. You know what? This morning I'm having breakfast on live. That's just what I'm doing this morning. Oh my goodness. So, as we continue this conversation around government contracting and business, you know, over here, we do not grow alone. So, tell your business bestie that I'm live. Grab your contractor's notebook and your favorite beverage. I'm drinking my coffee this morning. Share the information and let's get this started. So, as I've been sharing with any and everybody that will listen, I am on the road to, let's see, I've oiled my hands and I'm getting ready to touch my laptop. Go figure. Hold that thought. I'm My company is 10 years old, and well, one of my companies is 10 years old, and we're celebrating it in a big way um, in September of 2025 with a big anniversary celebration. And we're also having a contractor intensive in the Queen City of the South, Charlotte, North Carolina. The registration for that event is going to open shortly. But on the countdown to the anniversary, I'm sharing some of my ups and downs, lessons learned, things they don't tell you when they're encouraging you to open a business in the midst of my regular content. So while Contracting Chatter is a business to government contracting platform, and I share things from the viewpoint of how to establish a growing and scaling business and government contracting company, I'm also, first of all, this is not a political platform. From time to time, I may give my political opinion, but it will be clearly stated it's an opinion. But there's plenty political pundits are running around here. You don't need another one. This is a purely business platform. Just like I did a business analysis of the State of the Union address. You didn't need another political pundit. You needed somebody to look at the State of the Union address and say, okay, here are the business opportunities that are coming down the pike. Such as if you have a humanitarian network. Well, they're launching aid to the war areas. Well, if you have a humanitarian network agency, whether it be a nonprofit or a for-profit, there are a plethora. Well, I won't say a plethora. There are going to be RFPs out for agencies and companies to administer those. I want you to understand that they farm out that work. Other than the military who polices and um, the Army Corps of Engineer who does a lot of the building, and even some of the construction is outsourced because our military is stretched pretty thin. So our engineering work and some of that work is outsourced. And even if we send our engineers overseas, who do you think is doing the work in country? See, there's opportunities everywhere. So when you see the State of the Union address, no matter how you fall politically, pay attention. When your local officials, hello, have their quarterly or monthly budget reviews, attend. first of all, locally really impacts your business. Hello. That's where a lot of your taxes come in, your regulations come in. You really miss the mark if you're not attending those meetings. And from a business perspective, you can have the fact that you can work from home was a local decision. Hello. That was a zoning decision. A lot of people don't realize work from home was a law that was enacted. Does anybody hear what I'm saying? Work from home was a law. It wasn't a guaranteed right. Somebody said that you were allowed to work from home. And for those who said, I can do what I want to do, that's what you think. The right to work from home wasn't always a right. Home was home. And the right to work from home wasn't always a guaranteed right. Apartment complexes had the right to say at one point in time you were not allowed to conduct any type of business from home. That was a law passed that said apartment complexes could not penalize tenants from working from home. So keeping an eye on your local government for rules and regulations is key because that can change tomorrow. Keeping your eye on your local government is key because your taxes can increase tomorrow, which can affect your bottom line, and you have to readjust and reassign your money as a business owner. Does this make sense? I hope this is making sense to anybody, to somebody. If it's not making sense, say something, drop something in the chat. Contracting chatter is as interactive as it can be. If you have questions, drop them in the chat and I will respond to the questions. And you know what? We were all raised, well, most of us were, that when you enter the room to say hello. So good morning to everybody joining me. Good morning to everybody joining me today. So, with that said, keeping an eye on local as well as federal regulation is key. Now, we all know that we're in an election year. You can't get away from it. And everybody is keeping an eye on presidential elections. Okay, who the president is important. Keep an eye on your local elections as well. Who's running for mayor? That affects who is your local contracts. Who's running for city council? That affects your local contracts. Who is running to administer your budget? The names change depending from state to state, which is why I'm not using universal names, but your budget director, state, county, city. Who's running for that office? These are important questions. And why are they important? Because they affect your business. And they will affect your bid rates with the government. How does that affect your bid rates? I'm going to tell you how they affect your bid rates. Every dollar your company expends ultimately goes into the rate that you bid the government. Because every dollar that your company expends is recoverable whether in a direct or indirect rate. So the higher your taxes, usually the higher your rate is unless you have a large enough base to absorb those costs. So keeping an eye on what's going on locally in the political realm is essential for every business. I said this wasn't a political platform, but I did not say be politically naive. That was something I learned in business. Keeping an eye on what was going on politically. Whether you believe or don't believe, that is not the question. And for those of you on be not of this world, the Bible also says, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. We live in this world. So being politically aware of what affects your ability to be a positive influence in your neighborhood. You opened your business to be a positive influence on your family, on your neighborhood, in your community, and you can't be a positive influence if you are not politically aware. During the Great Reset, and that's how I call COVID, Great Reset. During the Great Reset, if more people had been politically aware, if you agreed or disagreed with what went on, that's not what I'm saying. If people had been more politically aware, they could have voiced or had a voice in what happened. People became upset because they felt powerless. But they felt powerless because they did not become aware of what was going on politically until it was happening to them instead of being a part of what was going on. So businesses shut down and went out of and just ceased to exist. That is one example of not being aware of what's going on. So you have businesses that existed in 2020 that didn't exist at the end of the Great Reset because they did not know what was going on politically. The Great Reset is a great example of that. That's how I call COVID the Great Reset. So as a business owner, you have to be aware of what laws are being passed and how to prepare in the eventuality. You may have this crisis plan and never use it again, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have it. The companies that survived the Great Reset were companies who had crisis prevention plans or who engaged consultants to come up with that plan and implemented that plan and kept going. Pivoting on the dime means the difference between existing and not existing. I'm going to say it again. Being able to pivot on the dime is the difference between existing and not existing. There is a small restaurant not too far from me. They're a mom and pop restaurant. The grandparents started the restaurant. I'm hesitating because I'm not a Charlotte native. So I only know the history of the restaurant from when I've gone there a handful of times. But the grandparents started the restaurant. When COVID hit and everybody had to shut down, well, the grandparents started the restaurant, their children worked there, and their grandchildren worked there. So that meant the whole family was out of work. What did they do? They made themselves a takeout. Okay. TikTok is crazy. Okay, I lost my live access on TikTok. So this is crazy. Anywho, back to what I was saying. The restaurant employed the entire family. So that meant the entire family would have been out of business. So what did they do? They became a takeout service. That's how the restaurant stayed in business and survived. So the restaurant is still open today and they still do takeout. So businesses that are able to pivot survived that time because they either had a crisis plan or they created one on the dime. So that is key to being able to pivot. That is key to being able, so pivoting on the dime, knowing when something, so staying aware politically, being active, having a voice, seeing, having a crisis plan in the eventuality of, and even if things happen, being able to pivot on the dime can be the difference between your business being here and your business not being here. It's so key. I can't believe I lost my live access. That is so crazy. TikTok's crazy. Does that make sense to anybody this morning? So so that's one of the things that they don't tell you about in business. You have you have to be able to pivot. Now, one of the things they praised about small businesses is the ability to move fast. But the one thing I've noticed is that those who are starting businesses don't change their minds fast enough. And I want to say that again. One of the things I've noticed about people who are just starting their businesses is that they don't switch their minds fast enough, which explains the 90% failure rate with businesses. It's crazy. That just, I'm sorry, I was just blown with that. That blew my mind. Anywho, to continue the conversation. So on this road to my 10-year anniversary, stuff like that happens. You'll hit a roadblock where you'll receive a decision that makes no sense. Now you have two choices. You can allow it to stop you, or you can keep going. You can allow it to stop you, or you can keep pressing. You can allow it to stop you, or you can keep pressing towards the mark. And guess what I'm doing? I'm pressing towards the mark. You will find something my mentor says all the time: everybody doesn't like every aspect of you. And you will also find people choose to misunderstand you. You can't control what people hear when you speak. You can only control the words that you speak. I want to I want to emphasize that. You can't control what people hear when you speak. You can only control what you speak. When as you're delivering your information, and then I'm closing out for this morning. As you're then I'm as you're delivering and representing your company and your organization, remember every action, every word, every step represents you and your organization. Remember, you're two individuals. Remember, the government says that your company is an individual, is a person. So you're representing two people. You're representing yourself as the founder and the leader, and you're representing the company. You can, so everything you say is representative of you and your organization. It's just that simple. You can't be but so concerned with how people interpret what you say, especially in this climate. So what you have to be make sure is make sure of that your message is on brand with your organization. That is something my marketing coach is browbeating into us. And I'm saying browbeating because that's what she's doing. Your corporate message has to match. Your message has to match what your corporation stands for. And if you keep ebbing and flowing, ebbing and flowing, it will ultimately hurt your corporate vision and your corporate brand. We've seen it. And this may not sound like something that belongs on the government contracting platform, but it does. And it's a thought that you need to end the day with. When you're answering an RFP, ultimately you're answering with the in the corporate voice and with a corporate voice. And as you start your company, you're creating a corporate voice. So the question is, what is your corporate voice? So I'm going to leave it right there for today. Be on the lookout for the announcement for my new website, my new training class. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna finish my breakfast. It's actually cold, but that's okay. And keep in mind, the stress mind can't create. You will always find your answer in the peace of the moment. I will see you tomorrow. I'm Luciana Turner of the LT&A Consulting Group. We are a government contracting firm, training and consulting firm. We help demystify government contracting for any business seeking to do work with the world's largest client, and that is the government. Have a great day.